can tell you people they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, as everybody knows, much drama. Much drama. And before starting out, I am going to make a point, which is I agree with Piers Morgan for having broken ranks and named the targets of Meghan, particularly Meghan, and to a lesser extent Harry, and their malice. I'll tell you why I'm in favour of Piers having said come clean about the King and Catherine. It's all over the internet. It's all over the world. The idea that the British people would somehow not know about it if it's not mentioned in the mainstream media is palpably ludicrous. What planet would anybody be on who would wish to condemn Piers for unmasking the malice, without revealing the identities of the two innocents whose perfectly innocent words would have been twisted if indeed they were ever uttered. Because remember what the Queen said? Recollections may vary, recollections do vary, very much so. I am absolutely behind Piers 100%. And you know, people who think that because it's not printed in the mainstream media, it doesn't exist. It is a delusion. They are as stupid as Harry and Meghan and Omid Scabies. So, having made that point, I will also now say what Maria Nichols has said. She's one of many people who have said it, but she has said it very succinctly, and I thought I'd use her comment. We are a mixed race family and understand totally the conversations other families have regarding wonderful babies about to be born. The royal family is no different. Twisting words about a private family chat for public fodder is disgusting. Meghan, enough. Grow up. And please do not damage your children with your toxic drivel. Of course, Maria Nichols' point is a very valid one, because Meghan is bringing her children up surrounded by hatred. And I am assured by Meghan's birth family that Doria used to drip poison in Meghan's ear, and that when Meghan used to come back from spending time with Doria, this obviously was not when Doria was absent for the tremendous length of time that she was, but this was before. Meghan would come back with a radically different, sour attitude. Yet, Doria is the one, as is Meghan, who both chose to marry white men. And in the community of colour, when I was growing up in Jamaica, you often heard dark-skinned people saying they wanted to link up with somebody who was fairer skinned than they were to improve their colour. Don't take my word for it. Ask any Jamaican. I don't know what it's like nowadays, but ask any Jamaican of a certain age. In fact, ask any person of colour of a certain age, and they will tell you that not only then, but even today, fairer skinned people of colour, as Chris Rock pointed out, are very desirable. In other words, much more desirable. This is a reality of life. Now, I'm not saying that's true with everybody. It's certainly not true across the board. I mean, for instance, that beautiful actress, Lupita Nyong'o. I mean, she's ravishingly beautiful, and she's very dark-skinned. So things are changing, but Meghan and her mother are the living embodiment of women of colour who couldn't condescend to be with a man of colour, and made sure that they produced children that were substantially fairer skinned than they were. This is the reality. Who are the racists? Because, you know, neither the King nor Catherine expressed any desire for those children to be fairer rather than darker skinned. My understanding is that the family would have been absolutely thrilled if the children had been très café au lait. It would have played very well in the Commonwealth and in multiracial, multicultural England. So, Maria Nichols, you are one of many people who have made this point. And I think it's really important that we need to make the point that no conversation that any couple has or any family has regarding what children are going to look like is at all prejudicial. It's not prejudice. Meghan has put for her own power trip the most negative, pejorative, disgusting spin upon perfectly normal behaviour. The racists are Meghan, Harry, and Doria, because they see race hatred where there is none. They see colour prejudice where there is none. It's really sick. And I can tell you something. If they didn't think that there was a payoff at the end of that line, they wouldn't be uttering it. Now, I'm going to do some questions, and then I'm going to touch upon some of the dreaded book. Chris Boozy Breath says, Dear Lady C, maybe you've already been asked this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Omid Scabies was broke not too long ago, and now all of a sudden he's living the high life not too far from the Harkles. How has he managed to afford this new lifestyle change? Do you think Methane Marketplace sorry is paying for him to be close by to avoid leaving a paper trail as she did with Jason Knopf? Very, very shrewd observation. So they could plot and plan the Dutch book debacle. Thank you for your wonderful shows. I never miss them even when I'm traveling. Thank you, that's awfully kind of you. My own personal belief, going off my assessment of the parties involved, plus what I have heard from people who know them, is that Omid Scabies was earning nice money, not great money, but nice money. He was the royal correspondent for, I think it was Yahoo, and then he lost that job because of his relentless negativity. And he's had one or two positions, really sinecures, so he's earning nice money, not great money, nice money. But he's a label queen, and he is, I feel really rather sorry for him, because, you know, his every tendency seems to indicate that it's all about appearance. Well, he's or looks like a gay man of over 40. That's even worse than a Hollywood actress who's never made it and wants to be a leading lady of over 40. So I am reliably informed. When you have nothing within, what is without becomes meaning external, as opposed to what you lack within. What you have outside showing assumes far greater importance than if you have wealth within. I don't think that Meghan is paying him a penny. I think that they've had a mutually advantageous relationship. He has been Joseph Goebbels' Minister of Propaganda to her Uncle Adolf. That's what he's been. And he's done a very good job of it. And admittedly, she's not a war criminal. And admittedly, she's nowhere near as bad as Uncle Adolf was. But she certainly is not a paragon of virtue in my estimation, or in the estimation of anybody with any sense and eyes to see, as to hear, brain to think, and judgment to exercise. I don't think she's paying him. I think she has made it possible for him to make money. And this was supposed to be them scoring big. He's going to make a whole load of money by concocting this lie that the Dutch translators were to blame Well, they can't have been to blame. It was translators, as I said before, translate what is in the manuscript. The writer is the one who puts what is in the manuscript in the manuscript. I think he's lying. If he is not lying and he wants to sue me, please feel free to go ahead, Omid Scabies. Sue me. I, as a writer, have absolutely no doubt that you are the one or somebody on your behalf. Maybe you did a Meghan. Well, if I get somebody else to do it, so did Omid Scabies say to a friend, well, so that I can have deniability, I'm going to ask you to type that in. And then I'm going to say, oh, I never did it. I never did it. I never did it. And everybody's going to believe me. Like we're all dumb. And yes, I would imagine that it was very much in her interest and Scabies' interest that they be close at hand so that they didn't leave a paper trail, because the last time the paper trail got both of them in trouble. So if they have any sense in their head, they will have learned that lesson. So I think that's a very good point that you brought up. Pickle Delis says, hello, Lady C. I have an opinion that is slightly different to other people's. After King Charles wrote to Meghan and Harry, there was no more public discussion about race from the duo until Harry's extraordinary interview with Tom Bradby, shifting the blame onto the British media. I think there was something in that letter that stopped all the nonsense from the duplicitous duo. However, Meghan wants to talk about this letter and the alleged racism in her upcoming book. If she were to reveal the contents of the letter, she would be castigated on high, whereas if the names are in the public domain, she would be able to talk about them more freely. I think Omid did this as a favour to Meghan. Pickle Delis, you're brilliant. It's a perfectly valid supposition. It certainly explains a lot. This is something I have to tell you I love about all of you. You give me such insight. You give me such wisdom. You know, you bring perceptions to me that nobody can think of everything. And to have such intelligent, perceptive, sensible people feeding me back their insights is very enriching for me as a writer, I have to tell you, really enriching. So I'm putting that as a writer in because, these YouTube shows, I suppose you would call them, or programs or episodes, whatever word you want to use, are more transient than what's in a book. So, and I'm substantially a writer, and I tell you, this is an absolutely brilliant observation that you've made. It's plausible, it's sensible, it's realistic, and yes, Meghan is now free to hypocritically say, well, I never said it. Well, either she or Harry had to have told Omid Scabies whether it was through Marcus Anderson or not is beside the point. They are the ones who had the information according to them, although this can't be Harry, because Harry said on Oprah there was one conversation and it was before he was married. Meghan said there were conversations and it was when she was pregnant with Archie. So I suppose she was setting up an artificial situation. That was, of course, going to be to her credit and everybody else's detriment. Well, but then they both said they didn't want to reveal the names because it was too damaging. It's not going to be damaging. This is the best thing that could have happened to the royal family in this situation. The way they have gone about this sneaky, nasty, underhand, devious, vicious way they have gone about leaking the names. And let's remember, Harry said one conversation before the marriage. Then, and it was one person. Now, with the passage of time, it's become two people, notwithstanding the fact that Harry said to Tom Bradby that neither he nor Meghan accused the royal family of racism. Yet, of course, they did. So, deniability is very important to all these creeps, because they are creeps. Sorry to use such a base word, but they are base and they are creeps. And yes, I agree with you. Omid Scabies has done his alter ego a great turn. But I'll tell you, I know something that I'm saving for my book relating to all of this and relating to all the aspects of this, which is really very interesting. And I don't think Megsy Baby and H are going to be absolutely thrilled when what is being speculated upon, let's put it that way, for legal reasons, is revealed. Meghan is an ace game player. Harry isn't. Meghan is an ace game player. But like all people who are too clever by half, they're stupid by whole. She thinks she's so much cleverer than she is. She comes up with these wild concoctions. And, well, I've said it. It's got to be so. Sweet Freedom says, Scabies is Iranian in name only. His mother was from an Indian sect who settled in Iran and live quite separately from Persians. If you look at his features prior to his extensive plastic surgery, you can see his features are Indian, not Persian. His father is not from Scottish origin either. He has a lot in common with Mimi. They both hate not being fully Caucasian and are consumed with jealousy and rage about this. They want all white people to pay for their self-loathing. That's your opinion. And I have to say, if you say that Omid Scabies is not genetically Iranian, therefore not Aryan, but Indian, then that does make him biracial. I would imagine you are referring to the Parsis, who were originally Iranian, moved to India, intermingled with the Indians in the worship of Zoroaster. They're Zoroastrians. They worship fire as their god. And then a lot of them have moved back from India to Iran. Well, my understanding was that Omid Scabies says that his mother is Persian. But, and if she's Persian, she's Caucasian. But should I tell you, it doesn't matter, because he has jumped on the race bandwagon and has been identifying himself as a biracial. So let's take him at his word. But he's got a lot fairer skinned with the passage of time. His face is not the face it was 21 years ago. He seems to be as much a product of artifice and science as Meghan is. I certainly think she is a self-hating woman of colour. And you could be onto something where Omid Scabies is concerned. And whether he is biracial or uniracial, the fact that he is so aware of race and plays the race card with the alacrity that he does tells me that even if he is Caucasian, he knows that some people think he's not. And that would possibly be as much of a problem for him as it was for Meghan. Remember Meghan? Didn't want to tick the black box. Absolutely furious that the British press called her black. No wonder she hates the British press. Jane Bruce says, "Hello, Lady C. I love your show and you always look so beautiful and you are so articulate. Thank you very much. In my opinion, it stands out like a sore thumb that these two monsters, Meghan and Harry, have definitely colluded with yet another monster, Omid Scabies, or as Jane Bruce says, OS. And the reason I think this is, who has Harry persistently condemned since leaving the royal family? His father. And who has been on Meghan's radar since leaving the royal family? Catherine. So it's obvious these snakes are out to cause as much trouble for the royal family as possible. But unfortunately, they have done more harm to themselves. Their jealousy will eventually destroy them. Their ambition, as well as their envy, is what will destroy them. And their delusions of grandeur and their self-importance and their ardent self-belief in the face of all evidence to the contrary. But yes, interesting, isn't it, who they've targeted? But let's not forget that they had Princess Anne in the frame, or somebody, let me rephrase that. Somebody had Princess Anne in the frame. And you notice Princess Anne is the one who Scabies says they blame for having got the king to strip them of Frogmore Cottage. I think they are busted flushes. I think we are now into a new phase of the Harry and Meghan saga. They went from popular and being appreciated by most people to bit transitional dubious to really hateful. And I think now their act is so transparent and everybody can see through it that really I think hereafter, and I've been saying this for some time that it was coming, and I think it's finally come. Harry and Meghan have shown us that they are the lowest of the low. You know, Meghan could have chosen to deal with things in a different way. She could have been far more understanding, and I'm now going to take her story as if I believe what she says. I don't, because I know that what she says isn't so. But let's take it as if it had been true. She could have had a totally different view. She could have thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to enlighten. And she could have moved on. She didn't have to be bitter and nasty, and she didn't have to sing like a bird, which she has done. But then, of course, she couldn't have been feeding her antisocial need for victimhood had she not sung like a canary, I think is the expression. Or is it? And I don't think canaries sing, but I'm not an expert on birds. So let's not get bogged down with that. And I'm going to use an example from my own family. When my father wanted to marry my mother was from what was known as a society family. And my father was from an emigre background. He was far more eminent and his lineage was far more ancient, and his background was far more eminent than my mother's background. But not at that time and not in that place. Eminence doesn't travel. Status doesn't travel well. And yes, by the time my parents got together, my father's family was known as one of the richest families in Jamaica. But my grandfather, not my grandmother, my grandfather was an insuperable snob. And he snared at the fact that my father was so rich. I mean, my grandmother, on the other hand, loved it. Sorry for laughing. And my grandfather set up his brother Julian so that after the engagement was announced and Daddy was being introduced to the Smedmores, my mother's maiden name was Smedmore, the Uncle Julian refused to shake Daddy's hand. Do you think Daddy made a big deal of it? No. He knew where he came from. He knew that he was actually from a far grander background than my mother, and he thought, I'm not going to let this upset me, and didn't. And Uncle Julian and Daddy ended up being great friends. And Uncle Julian would sometimes apologize for having done it and having got it so wrong. Daddy used, oh, come on, Julian, it doesn't matter. So even if it had been true, Meghan could have taken my father's approach. She could have been big about it. But you can't be big when you're a small, fry, petty hustler, can you? And yes, I agree with you. Their failings are not only will destroy them, they are destroying them as we speak. We only need to look and see what's going on. They have got themselves into irretrievably dreadful positions where everybody knows they are, well, everybody knows what they are. Let's leave it at that. Sid Mountaineer says, yes, the publisher likely still has the proof that they were given an English copy that names Charles to be translated. Well, Saskia Peters, the translator, has said, and I'm going to quote what she said, as a translator, I translate what is in front of me. The names of the royals were there in black and white. I did not add them. I just did what I was paid to do, and that was translate the book from English into Dutch. I said it when I was describing the publishing process. There is no way the translator is to blame. Scabies came up with a really stupid lie, just as how this whole fabrication to get out the names Charles and Catherine, notwithstanding the fact neither of them said anything untoward, nothing. Their behaviour was always totally reasonable. But Meghan has had it in for Catherine because Catherine is better looking than Meghan, and naturally better looking than Meghan, has a better figure than Meghan, wears clothes better than Meghan. Meghan is obsessed with appearance. She is extremely competitive. And Catherine, incidentally, has nicer hair, and it's all come out of her scalp. It didn't come off the scalp of Turkish virgins. And Princess of Archetypes says, oh my goodness, is this princess artificial? Or is this princess, well, what's an archetype? Oh, I know. I'm an archetype of authenticity. Absolutely everything about me is authentic. My nose, my teeth, my everything, absolutely my hair, and my charity and my compassion and my love of family and community. Everything about me is authentic. Princess of Archetypes says, Lady C, I'm wondering if the Dutch publisher will sue Scobie. I'm not sure the Dutch publisher has a strong case for defamation because he has effectively said it was an error. He hasn't accused them of malfeasance. He has blamed them for an error which is not actually defamatory. And also, I'm going to tell you, the British royal family doesn't really have a case against Scabies for what he has said in his book, because he actually has not accused them, particularly in those instances, of being racist. He skirted around the issue. And of course, Meghan, according to Harry, didn't accuse the family of racism either with Oprah, because none of them has used the word racist. But Meghan made it absolutely clear that she was accusing the family of racism, because she said there were concerns and conversations about how dark Archie's skin colour was going to be. That's a bold accusation of racism there. Just because she didn't use the word racism doesn't mean it wasn't defamatory and it wasn't an accusation of racism. It was a plain, clear accusation, which Harry then denied meant what it meant and said about unconscious bias. But unconscious bias is simply racism that you're unaware of. So that's not going to wash either. But I don't think the Dutch publishers, Zander is the publisher. I don't think that there is a case or a case of any strength to sue Scabies. Who could have a stronger case would be Saskia Peters, because she could say that the ordinary meaning of Scabies' word on this morning was that she had fabricated and inserted those names. It's less of a stretch for her to sue, but I don't think anybody's going to sue anybody. Publishers are by and large very gentlemanly and gentle people, and translators and writers as well, by and large. Not always. Some writers can be really vicious, and some of the royal writers can be just the study in dreadfulness, but others can actually be quite nice. So I don't think anybody's going to sue anybody, but let's wait and see what happens, because Saskia Peters will certainly have a very strong case against Scabies if she starts to lose commissions as a result of his lies, because he can, and if he thinks I'm defaming him, he needs to sue me. I'm here to tell you as a writer, it is not possible for the author of a manuscript to not put in a name, and that name, and to do it twice over, is inserted into a foreign language edition. It's so palpably ludicrous as to be unbelievable. And now I am going to do a few more of Omid Scabies' book. I was on the prologue, and I'm going to quickly get off the prologue, but I'm going to make an observation. In the prologue, Scabies makes it clear this isn't only a book about how dreadful the royal family is and how wonderful Harry and Meghan are, and so is he, because he and Meghan are people of colour, and all the whites are just awful, but he and Meghan, who are people of colour, are brilliant and beautiful and dress well and chic and fabulous and very cutting edge fabulous, and they know everything about everything, and they are just marvellous people. Unlike all the whiteys, who are just terrible people and racist, absolutely racist. Well, he has set himself up in this book as Petronius Arbiter, a know-it-all. He speaks from the Olympian heights of great knowledge, and he is a star. And if you have any doubt that he's a star, he's going to remind you time and again. Because this story isn't only about that mixed race girl from California, it's also about this mixed race boy from Britain. That's what it's about. So, equal billing almost. And parts of this book, the very last paragraph is, parts of this book will burn my bridges for good. He knew it, but he did it nevertheless. I don't think he realized, though, he was going to be found out quite the way he is. You know, these phonies never actually ever think anybody is going to scream out, "Emperor, you don't only have no clothes on, you have no new clothes, and you're sorely lacking. What a puny body you have. And as for your attributes, my goodness, I need a magnifying glass to see them." And there was the emperor thinking, not only does everybody admire his beautiful raiments, but underneath those raiments is this fabulous body. Parts of this book will burn my bridges for good, but to tell the full story, there's no holding back, not anymore. We're in the end game. And I put as my observation, drama queen. He is a drama queen. But as with Meghan, everything's high blown and high flown, and I'm just... Well, I mean, he's a queen and she's royalty. So, some might argue that it's unnecessary to bring the Duke and Duchess of Sussex into conversations about the future of the monarchy, since they started their separate life in California 3 years ago. As royal family members now living autonomously and completely disconnected from the institution, they currently play no part in where the firm goes from here. Well, that's not true, is it? Because Mr. Scabies and Harry and Meghan have been doing their absolute darndest to sully the royal family's reputation and to create as much racial tension within the British nation and the British Commonwealth as is possible. But their role in the bigger royal story remains as important as ever. The issues raised by the couple, including allegations of bullying. Now this is, remember, it's not Meghan and Harry are bullies. This is Meghan and Harry are being bullied. By whom? But let's get there. The issues raised by the couple, including allegations of bullying, misogyny, racism, or in Harry's description, unconscious bias. So I'm glad he managed to get in that they are actually both the same thing. And image manipulation, alongside the institutional cruelty they experienced, remain largely ignored and unexamined by the palace. How do you examine a lie? You unmask a lie. How do you examine a lie and deal with it as if it's the truth? Oh, I'm sorry, this is the Scabied way. And any promises made after their departure, including a focus on diversity within the royal households, have proved little more than PR-friendly gloss-overs. Not a great look for an institution whose monarch is sovereign to interracial Britain and the head of the predominantly non-white Commonwealth. Discrediting Meghan and Harry through negative press briefings, no matter how many times the palace sources deny doing so, may have damaged the Sussex's legitimacy to many. But for the members of the public still horrified by the family's treatment of its first mixed-race royal, it remains a thorny issue. All of a sudden, that bully Meghan and that bully Harry are innocent because she has brown skin, and it's not even brown. She browns it up. I mean, what are we dealing with? And the book goes on like this throughout everything that I've read so far. He says, and I'm going to just end on this note, the rot has set in and it's eating away at the monarchy's undergirding without Queen Elizabeth II, who is there to offer a counterpoint to stop the rot from spreading. Like Dorian's portrait in the attic, the ruinous truth is starting to show. Mr. Scabies! Oh, Mr. Scabies! Oh, Mr. Scabies, you're just so fabulous. You're as fabulous as I am. And you're as fabulous as I am too, because I'm fabulous too. I mean, this book is a study in histrionics. It is a study in flipping lies into truth and truth into lies. This book is seriously disturbing. Not only is it nasty, it is a study in psychosis. That's my view. It's a study in psychosis. And on that note, I will say, if you want me to do more of the book, please let me know and I will do it. I'm prepared to do it because it is such a nasty book. It is setting out to sensationalize, victimize, and destroy. And it does it in the nastiest way possible. But he's not totally stupid. Rather like Meghan, he has something going on up here. And like Meghan, less is going on up here than he realizes. And he thinks he's far cleverer than he is. Because he flips everything and lays the ground and makes these declamatory statements. The monarchy is in danger. The king is unpopular. It's all going to end unless they learn their lessons, which are Harry and Meghan are wonderful, and Omid Scabies is there to tell them how everything should be done. Because, like Meghan, he's a proud, confident man. Sorry, got that one wrong. Of colour. Race is written throughout this book. Race and venom. It is truly nasty, and I would recommend that no one wastes their money on it. It's not even fit to be used as lavatory paper. Your waste matter is too good for any contact whatsoever with the contents of this book. That's how much I deplore it. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please remember to keep the questions and comments coming in. I will, if you want, maybe in one episode or two, if I have to, cover the rest of the book. But really, it's just so ridiculously nasty. I'm not sure it's even worth it. But if it will entertain you and inform you, I'm happy to do it. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless. And if you've truly enjoyed this, would you please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and God speed.